This gentleman is you're a farmer?
Yep, it blew across the border from the United States.
Okay, let's start with a bit. What is it called?
Eastern filbert blight.
Eastern filbert blight.
Yes, it came from eastern United States in the early 50s to Oregon. And Oregon had it in the 60s then, the disease. Wiped out the crops.
When you say like it wiped out, like it destroyed all the trees?
Yeah, it kills the trees.
All those, what about all those, you're in near Agassi, right?
Yeah.
Are all those trees dead?
Yep, in Agassi, the disease finally came across the border because a grower in Washington on the Zero Avenue had a hazelnut orchard and he planted diseased trees. And the wind blows the spores across the border,
right.
And it came across in Abbotsford and started wiping out the trees. And the disease just spread like COVID. And
So go ahead.
The first in 1998, the disease came across the border. By 2003, the first orchards in Langley and Abbotsford area were wiped out. 2008, Chilliwack and Yarrow. 2010, Agassi. And by 2015, all of the trees in Agassi and the Fraser Valley were basically dead.
What did you plant instead?
Wiped out the total industry. So, but we knew the disease was coming.
Yep.
And I was president of the association, so I got in touch with the university in Oregon that had worked on the disease-free immune trees since the 1960s. And so they now had available in 2010 new trees that we could plant. But we couldn't bring the trees across the border because of the disease. Just like people can't come across because of COVID.
Okay.
Same thing. So we can only bring the trees across in leaf tissue culture in test tubes.
So did you do that?
So we did that. We had to establish a lab in Langley. The lab then took the leaf tissue and made a tree out of it. We then planted the trees in my field in Agassi in 2011. And these trees are now producing good nuts. Finally. It takes 7 years before the tree gets good enough production. These trees were planted in my field in 2017, and they had the first nuts this year.
So not all of these are viable. Like some of them are like empty nuts, right?
I would say those are 98% good nuts.
Okay.
We have another nut called Yamhill, which is a smaller nut. That's a better producer, but they're smaller nuts. These are the ones that Nutella takes for their chocolates.
Right.
And we sell them to Nutella in Italy.
Italy, wow. They don't have enough hazelnuts in Italy?
Nope, they don't.
Wow.
Most of the nuts come from Turkey, but they don't have. We have better quality nuts than Turkey does.
Good to know. So do you need more? What's the demand and supply picture? Is there more demand than supply?
There's more demand than supply.
That's why the prices have gone up. This used to be like $5 a pound when last time I drove through there.
$5 a pound. Well, they're now $9 a pound.
Yeah. So it's,
in terms of supply, British Columbia produced 90% of the nuts in Canada. That were grown in Canada. Canada still imported, but British Columbia produced up to about 2005, before the disease started affecting us.
Yeah.
We produced about 1.5 million pounds of nuts in the Fraser Valley.
yeah.
In 2017, that's only 3 years ago, the production was 20,000 pounds. Last year it was 50,000 pounds, and we used to have 1.5 million. So you can see how the production has gone up.
What's it going to be this year?
This year will be more than 50,000. We hope to be 100,000.
But that's still a long ways off from before.
Still a long ways off. So we only sell at, the emphasis is selling to farmers markets and BC, the small grocery stores.
What happened to all those farms? Are they all they're growing something else instead?
Yes, a lot of them went into other crops. My farm, I only replanted half the farm with hazelnuts. The other half went into corn. That's my previous farm where I had the samples. I'm retiring, so I bought a new farm, and I've got 300 trees there instead of 3,000 on the old farm. And I planted those 300 new trees, and the rest is in corn. A lot of the farmers are putting alternate crops in, but we have some new farmers that are producing. New farmers are going into nuts now.
The hazelnuts. Do you have other nuts or just hazelnuts?
BC just has hazelnuts.
Okay.
Walnuts are not commercially grown here. Too wet.
Too wet? So, wow. So basically we're a one nut country?
Well, hazelnuts works well in British Columbia. The harvest is in September.
Yeah.
And it's still relatively good weather. When you get walnuts, it's usually till the end of October.
Yeah.
When it's wet, and the machinery can't get into the fields.
Okay. So are these? How do you fertilize your trees?
How do I fertilize them? I take the wasted products like shells and so on, and
Yep.
I smash them up, and it becomes fertilizer, and also the prunings.
Okay.
And we also, some of the farmers use organic manures as well.
So what's that disease again called?
Eastern filbert blight.
Eastern filbert blight. Is that a virus, a fungi, or?
It's a wind-blown spore.
So is it a spore, meaning it's like a mushroom?
Like a mushroom, yeah.
Fungi.
Yeah, it's fungi.
Yeah.
And it gets into the bud of the new tree
Yeah.
in springtime,
Yeah.
and then it goes into the system,
Yeah.
and it eventually cuts off the circulation of the tree. So it goes around the bark
Yeah.
and totally destroys the bark inside,
Okay.
underneath the bark.
The phylum layer.
Yes, and then the tree does not absorb any moisture. So
Right.
basically, it
Starves to death.
starves to death.
Or dries up, right? It kills the phylum layer above the ground.
Above the ground. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So the telltale sign is you have your stem. I haven't got a picture of it here, but you have your
Yeah.
stem,
Yeah.
and it has dots all the way down. Dot, 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 and they look like little football, miniature
Okay.
football, little ovals.
Okay.
And it goes all the way down in a row, a row.
Oh, I
And
see.
if you have that, that's Eastern.
So now that this blight is
And the tops of the trees, of course, die first,
right.
and then it gets into the system.
So the blight, has it moved on to other trees?
No, it only affects hazelnut trees.
Only hazelnuts.
And only the European hazelnut, not the North American hazelnut.
Do you think this was possibly engineered
Engineered.
biological warfare?
You know, it came from eastern United States, and I don't know how it got to eastern United States, but
Okay.
it's been there for quite a few years. So in Ontario,
Yeah.
has been very heavily affected by that in the 1950s or
1950s.
60s. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Said I'm famous, but
You are famous.
am I? What for what?
Let me see. I think I've seen you on America's Most Wanted. No, I've seen you everywhere at all sorts of different parties.
Okay.
You're a famous guy, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, what is your name?
Rita,
Rita.
Yeah.
What are you famous for?
what am I famous for?
Yeah.
Coming to watch you.
Wow.
You're a groupie.
I'm a
Okay.
groupie.
I have a
I follow you.
Oh my God. It's nice. It's nice to have a stalker. Thank you, Rita.